CIT 1122, instructional video packet tracer 361. This is the final packet tracer in module 3, and it's got 4 parts. We're going to set up VLANs. We're going to set up interfaces with those VLANs. We're going to set up static trunking and dynamic trunking, and there's a voice VLAN in there as well. So configuration is very similar to what we've seen before, and there are some configs that we can reutilize. So we're going to move fairly rapidly through this. So background, we're going to go ahead and deploy this. We're going to set it up in a normal way. This is a very common thing that you would do in the field if you were working in a small to medium-sized business, and they had a series of VLANs you had to set up on some switches. So let's just go for it. So part 1, we're going to go ahead and configure the VLANs. All the VLANs are going to be the same for all 3 of the switches. So A, B, and C are going to have the exact same configuration as far as creating the VLANs and the names of the VLANs. So what I've done is I just made a notepad file, and I'm just going to roll this right over in here. And I'm going to show you that you can just write out some of your commands. And once you go to config mode, you can just paste those in, and that'll make things go a little bit faster. So we're going to do this 3 times, each one exactly the same. So we'll do A, B, C. We'll go in alphabetical order. So we'll go to switch A, and let's start with that. So config T. And now we're in global config mode. I've copied the VLAN config and just pasted it all in at once. You can see the whole thing will drop in for you, and this is pretty good. And just enter, and there we go. Those are done. So name, VLAN, and name, so on and so forth for this particular switch. Let's go over to switch B. We'll do the exact same thing. And once again, I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in. So remember, Notepad is your friend. It's my favorite word processing tool. So switch B, done. Switch C, same deal. And we'll paste that in. And since it's the same config on all 3, easy to do, very easy to do. So hopefully that's a cute trick that you, if you hadn't seen that before, now you know. So that takes care of part 1. Hey, that was easy. Let's go to part 2. Assign access ports to the VLANs on switches B and C. Switch A has no interfaces to, no access ports, so it's just trunking on A. But we will go ahead and set up B and C. Now, I'll move my notepad file back over again. If we were to look at the table, which is up here, and we look at the config, interfaces 1, 2, and 3 are set up. 1 is set up with VLAN 10 on both switches. 2 is set up on 20 with both switches. 3 is set up on 30 with both switches. Easy enough to do. We'll put the config in one time, and you can see it here. And once again, we can just go ahead and copy this and go into switch B first. And from here, we'll just do a quick exit. And we'll do a quick paste. And we've now set up the interfaces with the correct VLANs, and that's done. So that wasn't too bad. Let's go over to switch C, and we'll do the exact same thing. This is already in config mode. We'll do a paste, and boom, and those are done. So not too bad, pretty easy. And let's go ahead and move to the next step that we have. We are in part 2. We just set up those ports. And then the next thing we need to do is set up the voice VLAN for interface 4 on switch C. There is a phone over here. And then there's a PC7 that happens to be in VLAN 10. So from C here, let's go into interface FA0/4. And we'll set up the switch port mode trunk. Switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 10 first, and then we'll set up the phone voice VLAN, and the voice VLAN is VLAN 40, so we'll just do switch port voice VLAN 40, and that's done. So they didn't ask us for any QRS or TOS, so we're not going to put it in. And we'll call that piece finished. So that was pretty easy. And so creating the voice VLAN step 2 done. Step 3, Create a virtual management interfaces on all three switches. So each switch has an IP address. So we'll just follow these straight through. Those are posted here. So these interfaces will all be interface VLAN 99, but they'll have different IP addresses. So we'll just do those uniquely. Let's start with A here and virtual interface exit. So we're going to go interface VLAN, and the VLAN is 99, and IP address as listed there. So this one's going to be 192.168.99.252, and that's a /24. And we'll just no shut that, and that one's done. Let's move over to switch B, and we'll do the same thing. So interface VLAN 99, IP address, and I'm just going to put it right here so I know which one it is. It's 192.168.99.253, 255.255.255.0, and I'm going to do a no shut on that, and that one is set. And let's do the same thing on switch C. Move this one out of the way, move switch C down here. It is the third one, and we'll go interface VLAN 99, IP address 192.168.99.254, 255.255.250, and that's good. And we'll just do a no shut on that, and that's done. All right, cool. Okay, so that piece is finished. So let's go take a look at where we are. So we just done virtual interfaces on all three switches, address virtual. We carry the addressing table. We did that. The switches should not be able to ping each other, so we won't try and ping them because the trunking's not up yet. So let's go ahead and set up the trunk. So part 3, configure the link between SWA and SWB. So the one right there. As a static trunk, disable dynamic trunking on this port. So we're going to set these up as non-negotiate on both sides. And that will disable DTP from communicating. So we won't check native VLANs and things of that nature. They'll just turn on, and there won't be any negotiation. They're just both going to just send whatever they got to send, and it will totally work. So we'll also set these with the native VLAN, and the native VLAN is VLAN 100, so we need that command also. So C is in front here. Let's start with A just for fun. So on A, that interface is G0/1, so int G0/1, and this is going to be switch port mode trunk, and switch port non-negotiate, and switch port trunk native VLAN 100. And I think that's all we need on that one. That should do it. So let's get rid of that one. Let's go to switch B. And switch B, we're going to do the exact same thing. So let's take a look at that. int G0/1, switch port mode trunk, switch port non-negotiate, and switch port trunk native VLAN 100. And that one's done. So I think that we're in good shape on those. So dynamic trunking protocol disabled with non-negotiate, and those two switches should start talking to each other. And then they do. Okay, so we're looking good over there. So we've got one more link to set up over here. We'll go ahead and set up the link between SWA and SWC. And that is going to be in part 4. Assume the trunk port on SWC is set up to the default, which is dynamic auto, and G0/2 on SWA, so it can negotiate the trunk with SWC. Configure the trunk with a native VLAN and eliminate any conflicts. Okay, that seems easy enough. So configuring here, int G0/2, switch port mode trunk, and switch port mode dynamic desirable. Looks good. And let's do the native VLAN. So switch port trunk native VLAN 100. And I think that's all we need to do over there. Okay, so if SWA is set up as dynamic desirable, and if G0/2 on SWC is set up as dynamic auto, it's a trunk link. And all we would have to do now on G0/2 is set up the native VLAN so it matches the native VLAN SWA, and that should finish the exercise. So let's give that a try. INT G0/2, and that'd be switch port mode trunk, which we don't have to do, and switch port trunk. I forgot what I was doing. Native VLAN 100, and that is a perfect score. So that is, in a nutshell, very quickly, how you can get through Lab 361.